Bonjour. Welcome, everyone. We're actually going to go ahead and get started. Bonjour. My name is Laura Newton. I am the Family Services Program Director at the Minneapolis American Indian Center. And we're here tonight as part of the Family Preservation Subcommittee from the Metro Urban Indian Directors group. The MUID group is a group that has several subcommittees, and one of our tasks as a Family Preservation Subcommittee is we try to host educational events for community at least a couple of times a year. So we're really excited to have everyone here tonight in person. You'll notice that we also have folks joining us online tonight, which is great, from all over the state, and then on Facebook Live. So I have a few things to just go over right away, and some of those pertain to the folks that are online. The first thing I want to do, though, is to just take a moment to recognize that we are on the ancestral lands of the Dakota people, and also on the lands that the Ojibwe have inhabited in the past. We want to give our respect to the Dakota and Ojibwe people, that this is their homelands. And I want to thank all of you for being here tonight with us to learn all this great information. I want to acknowledge that Brittany was able to say a prayer for us before we came and enjoyed this wonderful food from Powwow Grounds. And also to just let you know that the Metro Urban Indian Directors Family Preservation Committee, as well as the Center for Advanced Studies in Child Welfare, graciously has donated some items for us here tonight, and we want to thank them for helping sponsor our event. The Family Preservation Group is made up of the different organizations in the community, as well as tribal representatives: Hennepin County, Dakota County, Anoka, Ramsey, DIW, Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center, Minneapolis American Indian Center, and as well as others, I should just say. The office ombudsperson for American Indian Families is also part of our committee. And we've had just a lot of great folks that have contributed their time to this event. All right, well, the next thing we're going to do, so panelists get ready, is to introduce our panel. We are so happy tonight that we have some youth that were formerly in the foster care system here tonight. We're really grateful for their attendance, as well as a number of professionals. So at this time, if you haven't already, take your note cards that are on the table, or if you're in the chat, start typing in any questions that you might have, either as we're talking, or if you've got something right away that you want to ask, because we will be taking those live, and they'll be getting those to me so that we can ask the panel. So first off, though, I want to just introduce our panel. So I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. I'm just going to say their name. So Brittany, if you could go ahead and start and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Brittany.
Hello, my name is Julie Johns, and I am a representative out of Ramsey County, and I'm a supervisor in that unit for a unit that is called Permanent Connections, and I supervise staff for extended foster care, the state program, as well as the ICPC units.
Okay, so Julie Johns, I think maybe we need to put the mic just a little closer. I'm not sure if they could hear.
Did you hear me at all? All right.
Hi, Joe Thompson, extended foster care with Hennepin County. That's all I got. Okay.
Hi, I'm Aubrey Haddikin. I work in the Adolescent Services Unit at Department of Human Services, and I am in charge of our MA for Former Foster Youth Program and policy for expected pregnant and parenting youth in foster care. I'm also going to be honest with you that I'm still fairly new in the role, so there's like a 30 to 40% chance if you ask me too complicated question, I'm going to be like, I'll get back to you on that.
Hello, Nick Vogel, also with the Department of Human Services, and I oversee the extended foster care program. And then I also do credit reports and the Foster Youth to Independence Housing Voucher Program for former foster youth.
My name is Kim Lemke. I'm the Independent Living Coordinator through the Department of Human Services, also in Adolescent Services. And so I do the STAY program, which is all independent living services, both through counties and tribes, and then also Stay in the Community, which is through our community grantees and our Youth Leadership Council.
Hello, everyone. Paul Meinhardt, also with the Department of Human Services, Adolescent Services Unit, and I coordinate the Education and Training Voucher, the ETV program, which provides funding for young adults who are going to post-secondary ed.
Hi, everybody. My name is Adam Johnson. I work for the Minnesota Office of Higher Education. And my primary responsibility there is working with a program called the Fostering Independence Grant. It's a brand new program for former foster youth in Minnesota to go get a full ride essentially at most colleges in Minnesota. So it's the Office of Higher Education the goal is to try to get as many people going to college that want to go to college in Minnesota and do it with the least amount of debt and the fastest possible.
Great. Thank you all so much. As you are writing down questions, I've got a few to just start us off with our panel. So I'm going to open this up to the panel, mainly our professionals that are in the room with different services. So this is open for anyone to jump in and answer. And I know a few of you have different services, so I anticipate a few folks will answer. But the big question is, how does someone even qualify for one of these programs? If we can maybe start down at the end.
So the Fostering Independence Grant, it's a brand new program. So this is not, it has not been around too long. This past fall was the first semester that we had students enrolled in the program and receiving funding. But students receive it by completing the FAFSA. So that's how we identify our students. They have previously had to be in placement in foster care in Minnesota at age 13 or older. And we identify those students through questions that they complete on the FAFSA. There's 2 questions on the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. It's essentially the primary way that students apply for financial aid in Minnesota. And as long as they answer yes to one of those 2 questions on the FAFSA, that's how we identify those students. And we reach out to them and we notify them of their eligibility. And then we encourage them to go to a school that's participating in the program. All the public colleges and universities in Minnesota are participating in the program, and then most of the private schools are participating as well. So we have a lot of schools that students can receive the funding in Minnesota. They can receive it up to age 27, and it's a full ride. So it covers tuition, fees, housing, food, transportation, living expenses, books and supplies. It's a really unique program. There's nothing like it in any other state. It's very unique, and it offers a lot of resources to students in Minnesota. And so the best part about our program is that you just have to dream and figure out what you want to do when you want a career. And then through that, then we will help with the funding and get you there. So you don't have to worry about the money part. All you have to do is worry about your studies and then focus on that so that you can get out of school.
So the, excuse me, the Education and Training Voucher Program, ETV, is available for youth and young adults who either currently are in foster care or have been in foster care. And it would be, the foster care experience would be having been in foster care for 30 days while you were 17 years old, or having been in foster care at age 16 or older and left foster care through adoption or through a transfer of permanent and physical legal custody. If you're turning 18 and you're still in foster care, you're eligible to receive for ETV. What you get with ETV, which is the next question, but I'll just throw this out there, $5,000 in a grant, up to $5,000 for going to any post-secondary education, any program that uses federal financial aid. So it can be a community college, a trade school, a beauty school, and then also the colleges and universities, both public and private, and colleges or schools that are outside Minnesota, if you choose to do that.
So for any of the independent living skills programs, whether that's stay through your county or tribe or stay in the community through our community agencies, as well as the Youth Leadership Council, you have to be between the ages of 14 and 23 and have been in foster care for at least 30 consecutive days after age 14. And then you can receive services all the way from 14 up to your 23rd birthday. The only way that a youth can lose eligibility is if they are adopted or have a transfer of custody before the age of 16. And that's part of the federal rules. So there's not anything we can change about that. But if you have an adoption or transfer after age 16, you would continue that eligibility as well.
For the extended foster care program, you have to be in an out-of-home placement immediately prior to your 18th birthday. That out-of-home placement has to be a foster care placement, not a placement through probation, but it could be both. So usually how I explain it to youth is if you are coming up on your 18th birthday and you have a social worker through the county or tribe, then more than likely you would qualify for the extended foster care program. If you only have a probation officer through the county or tribe, you more than likely would not qualify. But if you had both, you could qualify. So basically you have to be in foster care immediately prior to your 18th birthday, and then you're eligible for extended foster care until your 21st birthday.
For MA for former foster youth, you have to be in foster care on the day that you turn 18. You have to have been enrolled in MA before that while you were in foster care. And then you are eligible for MA until you are 26. There is a new federal law that says even if you move to another state, or if you were in foster care in another state and moved to Minnesota, you can get MA, but right now it's only if you aged out of foster care on January 31st, 2023 or later. Minnesota is currently going through a very boring bureaucratic process to see if we can get an exemption for that. Don't know how that's going to turn out, but right now that's how that works. And MA is just the same MA that anyone else is on MA has. So it provides some medical, dental, mental health sort of care. And this also applies if, this is a different MA category, but if you're in extended foster care after you turn 18, you also qualify for MA. You qualify because you're still considered in foster care. But if you were in foster care the day you turned 18, you were in extended foster care until 21, and then extended foster care ends, you can continue to get MA until you're 26 because you were in foster care the day you turned 18. For expectant, pregnant, and parenting youth who are in foster care, this is less of a service area, a program area. It's more of a change to the services you already get in foster care. And basically the way you qualify for it is if you are expectant, pregnant, or parenting while you're in foster care. And that also includes extended foster care.
That includes fathers.
Yeah, that's the expectant part. We struggled to figure out language to kind of cover everything, but yeah, expectant, pregnant, or parenting.
The question from the audience was, does that include fathers? Just for folks online who might not have heard.
So I'm always impressed with the amount of data that folks are able to just rattle off at the top of their head. I don't know if anybody else has questions, but I'm like, wait a second, slow down. All right, so I'm extended foster care with ICWA, working specifically with Native American youth. And I typically get my cases from youth that are in child protection. And ideally, I get them at 17 and a half so that I have a few months to work with them and to explain to them all of these details that have just been shared with you folks. To qualify, it's a voluntary program. So at 18, if the youth doesn't want to participate, they don't have to, but they'd be foolish not to. Excuse me. Safe and suitable housing, they have to have that, and that can either be in a foster home or they could have a rental or any variant of that, and then also be working 80 hours or be going to school. If they meet those requirements, then we can continue to work with them. We'll keep it at that for now. There are some more deeper variants, but for now, that's enough. Thank you.
And mine is fairly similar to what you just heard from Joe. So typically the youth that I'm servicing, they are coming out of child protection, either from a termination of parental rights or permanent custody to the agency. And they do need to have been in care up until their 18th birthday. And we continue with them at that period of time. And there are, as he's already said, there are some criteria to being in extended foster care because it is voluntary, but it is also something that, you know, anyone that has been in foster care can have that experience. So, you know, again, you do need to have met some of the criteria, either working 80 hours a month, being in school, and, you know, the language right now says enrolled. What I ask is that you not only be enrolled, but you are actively pursuing your high school diploma. It can be post-secondary, but we want to see some progress, not just saying that, well, I registered and I'm on the book. No, you know, I do some checking, and I ask staff to do some checking as well. But there's also another criteria where if you're not able to do that, say you are, you know, you're pregnant and it's a hard pregnancy, we allow, you know, a period of time for you to then get yourself reacclimated and then again, begin to work on one of those criteria that need to be met. So, you know, I think the biggest thing is that, you know, the other part that we are asking is that it's not necessarily written, but that there are a meeting that usually will occur with staff every month. So we are meeting with young folks every month at all possible. We're doing verifications, we're doing several things, as well as working on a plan that the youth would then be developing. So that's in a nutshell, real simple.
Great, thank you all. I want to just open it up if there are any questions here in the room. Also on chat, we will get those as soon as possible, but if anyone has something in the room, we just need you to we need to either read it out or we will have to repeat it so that the audience online can hear it. Are there any questions so far? Okay, we've got one. One moment. Okay, one question is, if a child is placed with a family member that takes them in without a foster care license, would they qualify in any way for these services? And I'm going to open that up to whoever might want to answer it.
Okay, I can answer that question. So basically, if you take in a relative into care, they still have to be actually placed into your care. Now, payment is a different situation. Sometimes you may not get a payment right away, or there may be other circumstances, but as long as the county or tribe has custody of that youth and has placed them with you, then they would be eligible. But if it's just a private arrangement where, say, the parent asks you to take this youth in for a while and it doesn't go through an agency, then they would not qualify for these programs.
One of the things that we do get asked a lot is a delegation of parental authority, or a DOPA. So a DOPA is not foster care. That's what we talk about, those private arrangements between family, kin, or friends. And so a delegation of parental authority is something that a parent can sign off on and give basically consent that whoever they want is able to enroll that young person in school, take them to the doctor, things like that. And that is not a form of foster care.
And another thing, type of foster care that doesn't qualify you for, I don't think any of these programs, is correctional placements. So if a young person is being placed as part of a delinquency jurisdiction because of some crime or something, and they get placed out of the home, it can feel a lot like foster care, and it is actually foster care, but it's not the type of foster care that's going to make that person eligible for any of these benefits. The foster care has to be through social services. It can't be through probation or corrections.
Another question for the panel would be, are there other services that say if there was a family placement or a family arrangement or something that doesn't qualify, are there any services? Because I'm assuming this is a question that you get quite a bit, that you would recommend and refer folks to that would be helpful within the community or social service agencies that might be able to help them?
So typically, at least through my program with Stay in the Community, where we have community agencies who provide these services for our current or former foster youth, a lot of times those same agencies will get other funding streams as well to where they can provide either some of the same or similar services. So I would always recommend that a youth go to those agencies to see what they may be eligible for. And again, those community agencies are a wealth of knowledge as well. If they can't serve you for some reason, they're more than likely going to know who and where for you to go to get some of those services.
Yeah, some other very popular resources for young people in the metro area are things in Minneapolis like Youth Link or Oasis. Things in St. Paul, Face to Face is a very good resource for young people. They're drop-in centers, and namely, you can get almost any service that you need help with right there, and you don't have to be in foster care for those services. So our unit does try to help provide resources that are in the community, but our specific programs, because of federal funding, are tied to foster care.
And I would say for MA, talk to a MNsure navigator. MA is so complicated and there's so many different ways that you can qualify for MA. I only know about this one way, and so I can talk till I'm blue in the face about that. It's very boring. But the MNsure navigators know about all the other ways. And if they don't know, they know who to ask about it. So if you don't qualify for MA under one way, go talk to a MNsure navigator. They'll be able to help you figure out if you qualify under any other way.
Also in St. Paul, there is a program called Safe Zone, which is also a youth drop-in. They usually are dealing with some youth that aren't connected anyway to the county. So that's another option within the county. Nina is here, so I'm gonna kind of put her on the spot, but there's a program that is called PSOP, which is referrals, resources for families. So that's another option, before you actually get into and hopefully can avoid child protection. So there are things within the county that you can access as well.
I refer youth often to Miss Sue Quist over at DIW. She does fantastic work, and Veronica, of course, is learning her craft well. So that's one of the resources that I utilize.
I also just thought of another. So if you are a expectant, pregnant, parenting, or actually just pregnant or parenting youth, and you carry the child or a mother, you can also look at minor parent case management. So this is anyone under 18 who is pregnant or has given birth can request voluntary case management services through their county. That might come through your social services, or it might come through public health. And so this is available to foster youth and non-foster youth. For foster youth, the services are usually covered under their foster care out-of-home service plan anyway, but that is available if you are not in foster care. You just call your county and ask them about minor parent case management. And that one, unfortunately, is not available for fathers or non-carrying parents.
Hey, I have a follow-up question that came, I believe, online. Is the Fostering Independence Grant only for Native Americans? And what about someone who graduated in May?
It is not. It is all for anybody who had foster care placement in Minnesota at age 13 or older. So it is not just for American Indian students. It is for any current or former foster youth who had placement in Minnesota at age 13 or older. And it's a program that lasts until you're age 27. So it is built into the state statute as a permanent program. So it is not going to go away. So if somebody is graduating in May of this year or next year, they'll be eligible for the program whenever they decide to actually attend college as a regular college student, not PSEO.
Okay, I have another question. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get this right, but I'll do my best. And I think this came from online, so if I'm not getting at the question, please resubmit. Can a youth that is in protective supervision and child protection qualify if they are not in a placement yet? I think it means with a custodial parent. It says not a custodial parent, but I think it might mean with a custodial parent. Does that make sense?
So basically, they have to have a placement in order to be eligible. So if they've never had a placement, the protective supervision would not give them the eligibility. If they were in placement and returned home and were under protective supervision, then they would still qualify for some of our programs, at least for my programs, they would. And age, and there's a lot of different factors that are going to determine what all these programs eligibilities are, but that placement is really the piece that they need for eligibility.
And things like a trial home visit would count as well. A trial home visit is still considered foster care. But foster care, it's not considered foster care if you live with a non-custodial parent.
Does this also include foster care placements like shelter, something like the Division of Indian Works Youth Lodge, or non-licensed foster? Is a non-licensed placement, a shelter placement?
So more than likely those placements would count. I think the biggest thing that you have to remember is if you have a social worker from a county or tribe, that's a really good way to look at it. Like most young people need to have at least have an assigned social worker from that county or tribe, and then ask your social worker to ensure that the county or tribe has at least temporary custody of you. So it's usually done through a court order or a voluntary placement agreement that their parent may sign with an agency. And so one of the big keys for young people is just if they have an assigned social worker from that county or tribe, there's a very good chance that that placement would count.
Okay, I'm going to pivot here for just a minute. We do have a couple of other questions, but I want to allow some of our former foster youth to weigh in a little bit. And I just want to ask you both if you would just say a few words about what programs you were engaged in, maybe which ones you took advantage of, and how you got in them. You know, who helped you get into the program?
I think the programs that I used was with when Joe was my former social worker. I used the DIW Division of Indian Works, and I think and then I had a YMCA life coach too also.
Yes, a little, sorry. So a little bit about my experience. I aged out in 2014. So it's been a little bit, but a lot of those programs are still there. So yeah, similar to Brittany's experience. I was a part of the DIW program, which I think was called Healthy Transitions at the time. And then I also did the YMCA. I think it was called Elements of Transition, lots of transitioning. So I did both those programs, and it was nice because I was able to experience some of that cultural piece with being with DIW, and then at the Y, it was nice to kind of get like a broader perspective of like foster care from like youth who maybe aren't native. So.
Thank you so much. One of the other things that we had here as a note was another former foster youth wanted to just emphasize that to all the youth that are eligible for these programs to seriously take advantage of them, that they are really wonderful and that programs have changed this person's life. So that was a comment that was shared. One more question here is for the panel. If there are kids living with grandparents after parental rights have been terminated, what would happen when a new child is born? So I know this is a little bit off the topic, but if anyone wants to take a chance at answering that, if not, we can, we just do our best. Who said I can? Come on up.
So hello, everybody. I'm Nina Vongpeth. I'm a Ramsey County ICWA Child Protection Case Manager. And so just in respects to this question, and this may differ from county to county. However, a common practice, well, I will kind of go into that. A common practice before was terminating parental rights. And I think that counties are moving away from terminating parental rights now and moving more towards transfer of custodies and transfer of legal custodies, meaning these placements can take place without terminating the rights. Because one challenge that came out of the TPRs was that families would then those children that were born to a parent with TPRs is an automatic investigation. And that's just based off of statute and guidelines. And so depending on the county and depending on the screening, it doesn't mean that every child will be automatically taken away. I know in Hennepin County, we screen and we talk about how can we support the parent to make sure that they can, again, parent if we're able to, depending on the case that it is. So it originally, I think there's that idea that once there's a TPR, you can't have any more children or they won't come back to you. But just a common practice that I know that's happening in Ramsey County, where I work, is to stay, they're trying to do more transfer of custodies and TLCs nowadays.
Any other comments or? Okay, so the next question we have is for the whole panel. If youth have to be in foster care when they turn 18 to be eligible for many of these programs, when to discourage older youth in care from being adopted or having their custody permanently transferred? And then has there been any discussion about changing legislation to allow youth who've been in the system to be eligible for these programs?
So one of the things that I talk to our counties and tribes a lot about is when young people are close to 18 and they're looking at making a permanent decision for that young person, that young person is involved in that discussion, and that the county and tribe explain to them what extended foster care is and the benefits of extended foster care, and let that young person be part of that decision on whether they want to receive permanency prior to 18 or they want to be part of the extended foster care program. And then also keeping in mind for young people that maybe really want to be adopted, you can still be adopted in Minnesota after age 18 and continue to be eligible for the extended foster care program as well. Just something to think about, that is still a possibility. And with this question, we don't really do a super good job of explaining like the extended foster care program. So I want to talk to some of the, like, 'cause I see a lot of young people in the room that could probably be like, hey, that program sounds okay. But I think a young person that's on the panel can probably explain it a little bit better. So I want to ask the young people on the panel what the best thing about extended foster care is. And with that, I want you to talk about the money and I want you to talk about your own apartment and things like that. Because sometimes we don't emphasize that that's a reality of the program. Really, it doesn't mean that you're in foster care. It can mean other things as well. So I would like the young people to talk a little bit about the benefits that they got out of the extended foster care program.
So we'll hand it over to Brittany and Christina. If you want to use this mic, it seems to work a little better. And if you could just tell us a little bit about your story, your experience, what has been helpful to you? What is been great about it? What has been not so great? You know, like, did you receive funding for an apartment? How much was that? Any of that you'd like to talk about?
So I did a stand-up foster care when I was 18, and then I aged out when I was 21. But the funding that I got helped me a lot. So my former worker helped me get into like a housing program. It's like a voucher, basically. You can get it you can get it till you're 21, or you can extend it longer. The resources that what they helped me with was with healthcare. Like when I was pregnant with my child, they helped me get like benefits with her healthcare. So it extended for her too. And basically when I was in stand foster care, the benefits, the money that they give us if we go to school or if we go to work, helped a lot. It helped pay bills, it helped pay rent, it helped pay clothing, it helped pay food, transportation. And that was very helpful, because if you're a single mother doing all these things, and it helps with childcare too. So you can get into help with childcare if you have children. I think that's it.
Yes, I can talk a little bit about my own experience. Yeah, like I said, I had aged out in so I graduated high school in 2012. So for those, the end of 2014, so when I aged out. And for me, so I had grew up in foster care like from the time I was 8 until I aged out. And about half of those homes, I would say, were not native. So, and they were kind of like, I don't know how the word, there was a lot of like internal things that I was going through having been in those experiences. And so for me, coming back to the city when I was 18 after graduating, being able to be back in the community, being able to have like a safe place where I could just like really like process some of those things. I think that especially being in the system, when you're in the thick of it, you're kind of just like focused on surviving. And so I think when you're aging out, a lot of that compact trauma will kind of like start to come up. And that's why, it can be hard for a youth to hold down a job. It can be hard for a youth to go through the whole college application and FAFSA and all those things on their own, just because we're so used to being in this like systematic way of being. So that transitional time from 18 to 21 was really helpful for me, because I felt like it gave me some time to heal, being able to have the finances to, have my rent paid. I mean, there were times where, I was looking for jobs and that what is it, an ETV check? That was kind of like the only money that I had. So it was really helpful in that sense, that I never really had to experience like being out on the streets, because I had friends who weren't in the system but maybe had similar experiences to me who did have to experience that. So the fact that this program exists and that youth are supported until they're 21 if they choose to be, I think is really helpful. And also just, getting the medical until you're 26 is huge too, because, for me personally, those first 3 years, a lot of it was just, trying to survive, trying to create some stability. And between, like 23 and 26, I was spending a lot of time focusing on like some of those bigger things like the mental health stuff and whatnot. And so being able to have that insurance, that I was going to be good to do that part of it was really helpful. So Yeah, I would say, and then, yeah, also just having the opportunities. When I was in extended foster care and like doing some of the programs, we got to do a lot of really cool things. We got to go to some cool conferences. We got to do some traveling, going to these conferences. And yeah, I don't think I would have had those experiences had I not gotten involved.
I just want to say one more thing about the eligibility at or concern about being adopted and then not having access to programs. The Fostering Independence Grant, as long as you have foster care placement in Minnesota at age 13 or older for even one day, you do qualify for the Fostering Independence Grant. So it doesn't have to be, so you could be adopted at age 14 and still be eligible for the Fostering Independence Grant. So there is, so that isn't a concern, at least for that program specifically.
And then for the ETV program, similarly, you don't have to be in foster care at age 18, but you do have to have been in foster care at age 16 or older. And then if you've left through adoption or a transfer of permanent legal custody, then you're eligible for ETV.
I just want to add one more thing. So when I was in foster care, I had a sister that was 2 years older than me. And they choose to ask you when you're 17, if you want to, when you're about to turn 18, if you want to be extended foster care or not. So she chose to not to be in the extended foster care. She wanted to be on her own and go back home. And then she's seen me wanting to go to extended foster care. And I got all these things that helped me like grow up in life, and she sits there and she could have been like that. She could have got her own house. She could have got her own apartment. She could have got insurance and stuff like that, and these fundings to help her go to school and stuff like that. But she chose not to. So it's just like, I have to tell her, like, I have to remember her. You choose not to go into extended foster care. You could have know all these programs that will help you in life, but you choose to do the easy way out and go back home because you miss home. But you have to think about yourself, and you got to think about if you're going to have a child, you got to take care of that child. Like me, I was pregnant when I was 17. I had her when I was 18, and I had to think about my child. And I was gonna give birth soon. So I was thinking about the insurance. As soon as I leave the hospital, who's gonna pay that? And that's one thing that helped me when I was in extended foster care. It was that insurance. So it added on to her and to my benefits. And then it's just with the programs and stuff, I want to say when I was referring to when Joe helped me out, he was always there for me, and when I need something, or he referred me to Sue, and Sue was always there for me all those times. And it's just, I'm very grateful when I was in extended foster care.
I want to add one more thing about
Go ahead.
MA. When I say something like, if you're in foster care on the day you turn 18, you qualify from MA until age 26. That's not fancy phrasing. That's very specific phrasing. If you're in foster care on the day you turn 18, if you went through an adult adoption, 18 in one day, you still qualify for MA until 26. The criteria is based on your foster care status the day you turn 18. So some of these programs are still available, even if as an adult you want to go through an adult adoption process. But like Nick said, this is why we want kids who are approaching that age to really be involved in conversation, because it really is a consideration of what benefits, what legal connections, what is really going to work for you for the next couple of years and going forward into your adulthood.
We've got a few more questions for our former foster youth. The first one is, are there any services that you received while being in foster care or extended foster care that you think need to be changed or different?
I think I wanted to be enrolled when I wanted to be enrolled into my reservation. I think that's one thing that they should have helped me with. I don't know how to explain it. Like, sometimes I ask my worker like if they can help me be enrolled, but that's like your equal worker from your like there's different workers that can help you with that. So it's like I'm from Leech Lake, so it's basically you will have a equal worker from Leech Lake or something like that. It's like I don't know how to explain it, but you have like certain workers, like I don't know. But I wanted to be enrolled, but I'm not enrolled right now. So that's one thing I wanted to do is to be enrolled when I got into extended foster care or when I was in foster care. That's one thing that I wanted to do is get enrolled.
I would say like overall the services I received were like really good. I think that like at the time there wasn't like because I aged out like 8 years ago or something. So at the time, like I don't think like there was as much talk about like how like trauma can live in the body and like how it like can compact into you. And I think especially like for foster youth, we've just experienced a lot of trauma in like a short amount of time, and especially like as we're like developing. And so for me, I had a lot of like compact trauma as far as like in my body of like just like getting triggered easily, like like people touching me freezing up. And so like not I think like sometimes people that I would work with wouldn't really understand that like that part of it. But I think that overall like that piece is getting more like people are getting more knowledgeable about how trauma works and how especially like those when you're experiencing it over and over again, how that can like really be like compacted in your body. But yeah.
I just want to say thank you both for saying those things. I think they're so important, and I hope lots of youth that are kind of trying to figure out, do I want to get these services, hear what you're having to say tonight. One more question for you both, and that is, what's the most helpful thing that your social worker did to help support you? There's lots of workers in the room. This is something we all need to hear. So if there's something that really helped, we'd love to hear what it was. Also, if there's something that just was not helpful at all, go ahead and tell us too.
Just being there and checking up on me, just calling to see if you're okay, if you need anything. That's very helpful because it's just like there's some people out there that don't really check up on you like that. So I think that's one big thing that really helped me is like, or like making sure someone's okay and stuff. Or if you need something, they can help you with it. Or you can ask your worker to help you like, oh, I need this, or like, can you help me bring me somewhere or stuff like that. It's just very helpful. It's like when they check up on you, is making sure you're okay, or hey, are you to be there at the pickup, or you need to talk and stuff like that. It's just basically community, like basically like just talking to one another and seeing how you guys are doing. I think that's the biggest for me.
I would echo that. Just say, just, approaching your job in like a genuine way. For a lot of professionals, this is their job, their day job, they go home at the end of the day. But, for youth in foster care, this is their experience. This is their lived experience. They don't get to just walk away from it. And so just being genuine in that way. And then also, like she said, checking up on your youth, even the youth who might seem easy or they, I don't gotta worry about so-and-so, they're in school, they're doing this, they're doing that. Those youth are still struggling too internally in a lot of ways. They might just be, processing things in a different way. So being sure to check up on those youth too, that might seem, like they're good. Just continuing to, yeah, do that and be supportive.
Okay, so one of the great things is that, I'm so glad for Brittany and Christina who are up here and have willingly said, we want to come up and we want to tell a little bit about our story. Not everybody feels comfortable doing that. So we have folks in the room, we've got folks online, and so I'm just going to read a couple of comments from other youth that have previously been in foster care. Regarding this question about what did your social worker do that was helpful? Someone said that they would take me clothes shopping, to the food shelf. They'd give me rides to important appointments and events, and that was all really helpful. Another comment was, just to the other youth out there, this person is saying, please don't be scared to ask for help. All of these workers are doing this work because that's their job and they want to be there to help you. So you're never asking for too much. So I think that's really helpful to hear too from another former foster youth.
Laura,
Yes,
can I interject for just a minute?
absolutely. Joe Thompson, please interject.
Won't take the 30 seconds. First, both Brittany and Christina, thank you for sharing your side of the story, because ultimately those are the things that we need to hear. I appreciate it. And we do make mistakes, to be sure. It's hard to quantify really what the job is all about, to put it into numbers. First and foremost, don't let this thing fool you. I don't know what I'm doing. Good Lord. And when I meet with my youth, I dress accordingly, but I have always contended that I might be, a 53-year-old man, but I'm no more than 16 in my heart and soul. And I think that serves a purpose. The youth that we work with have been through a grinder that the toughest part of the job is to develop that connection with kids, to get them to trust you, to know that you're there for their best interests. And Brittany, you hit the nail on the head. Yeah, just to call, just to make sure that you're doing okay. It might seem like a simple thing, but that's a big part of the job. And I know Nick Vogel with the state, although he's now with the state, he started in extended foster care with Hennepin County. So he understands that role as well. And so he's now developing policy to meet those needs. So I think it's a great program. I try to shield my youth from all the rules and regulations that we're talking about this evening, because I don't need to know about that stuff. Just so long as they're, meeting the criteria, but kids are going to have breaks. They're going to have time when it's not easy to, get those things put together. And we need to allow time for grace for that. And good Lord, I remember being 18, 19, 20, 21. Thank God there wasn't social media. I don't think I'd be, well, I better just stop right now. At any rate, I don't consider what I do work. When you're just meeting with youth to sit down and talk about what their life's, what their life goal are, what they want to accomplish. It's a joy and a privilege. So thank you both for being here.
Apologies, we have to play musical microphones, but thanks for bearing with us. So a few more questions that we have tonight. We've got still some time. A couple more questions that came in. Has there been any discussion regarding extending foster care benefits past age 21? Such as transitioning the financial benefits instead of just cutting youth off at age 21. Whoever would like to answer, please.
Yeah, I don't know who asked this, but it's pretty much perfect. So our team that's up here, the DHS team, wrote a proposal this year to legislation called Support Beyond 21. And what that program was designed to do was to be only a financial program for young people that are aging out. It would basically come with no case management, no anything. You just provide your address and we provide a check to you. And that check was meant to be a step down program to where the first 3 months you would receive $1,000. The second 3 months you would receive $800 and so on for 1 year. Well, we need a little bit more legislative support to make that happen. It was very close to passing this year, but it did not pass. But our team up here did write that proposal, so we're hoping to continue that journey on providing more financial assistance to our young people in foster care. And since I have the mic, I want to open up the eyes to the young people in the room regarding extended foster care. We're not talking about a small payment. It's a minimum of $1,023 that you get per month for participating in the extended foster care program once you're ready to live on your own. So if you're questioning whether you want to do it or not, just think about, you're going to better yourself. You're going to better your community by being able to work or go to school and then get an additional minimum $1,023. Christine is probably mad at me right now because it was not that amount when she was in extended foster care. But that's the amount that it is today.
Do you want to comment? No, just teasing, just joking.
She'll just kick me later. It's fine.
Just joking. Well, actually, speaking of that, there's a question from online that I think goes really well with this topic. The person online is asking, why do youth need to make such a big decision right when they're turning 18? Some of them have experienced a lot of trauma. Some folks, I've worked with lots of youth in foster care. They're like, I just want to go home to my family. I'm able to now. Is there any way that the foster care system will let these children heal a little bit, take a little bit of time, change their minds? Can they still get benefits?
So the answer is 99% of the time, yes. So in Minnesota, we have a reentry program. So if you qualify for extended foster care, 99% of the time you can re-enter foster care. So if you decide to say no, and then 3 months later, you're like, oh crap, I want that $1,023 that Nick was talking about. You can come back and get it. In order to re-enter, you have to sign a voluntary placement agreement with the county or tribe. And what that does is it gives the county or tribe legal authority to place you back into foster care because you've turned 18 years old. So you have to sign that voluntary placement agreement. You have to meet one of the 5 criteria that we talked about a lot, and you have to be in an approved housing setting. And that approved housing setting is up to the county and you to determine together what's going to be approved. If you're doing one of those 3 things, you can come back into care.
Another question that we had is, are there direct contacts to reach out for each of these programs? So I know various folks are here tonight. You might be the direct contact. Is there someone else people should reach out to if you're not the person that they should call? If you could give us a little information on that. I know those of you that are in the room, you've received a packet, so you have some information, but if anyone can speak to that, that would be helpful.
We do have a section of the DHS website. So it's Adolescent Services Unit. That's where 4 of us here are from. And information about all the programs is available there, and contact information with a general email inbox. If you're here tonight, you got a handout that has all of our individual email addresses as well. But I also want to mention just that when it comes to actually signing up for programs or getting involved in the programs, your worker is the one who's going to be doing that work. So that's the one who you want to contact to get the work actually done. We can certainly answer questions for you and point you in the right direction, but we can't help you with the paperwork, figure that stuff out. That's what the workers are for as well. So you can contact us. You can check our email address. You can check our website. When you want to get it done, you got to talk to a worker. Can I just pop in with one more thing here? If you don't have a question about a program in particular, but some of what we've been hearing from people on stage and people online is ideas for things that they would like to see different. Ideas for policies or procedures, or can we change the law this way or do this sort of thing? And we've been able to answer some of those questions. Nick was able to talk about Support Beyond 21. Please send us those ideas too when you have them. We are happy to hear that stuff. That is a great use of our government email addresses.
All right. So this question is about, do any of the programs mentioned here also help provide just life skills such as cooking, cleaning, laundry, bill paying? those types of services that help youth attain sustainability and continued guidance.
Yes, so the stay program, again, whether you're receiving services through your county or tribal agency or stay in the community with one of our community agencies, provide all kind of independent living skills. You can go to groups. All of our agencies provide different groups. Cooking would be one of them, budgeting, all those kinds of things. Some counties provide groups as well, just depending on which county that you're working with. And as far as other services, if you're over the age of 18, you can get in touch with our community agencies and they can help you with individual living skills. If you're not currently working with the county, if you're working with the county, you can get those skills through your county as well. So they'll work with you on an independent living plan, work with you on what are your goals? Is it employment, education, transportation, permanent connections? I mean, there's a bunch of different things that individually you might want to work on that your worker can help you with. And we also have transition services where you can work with a county and a community agency at the same time as you're transitioning from county services going to community agencies. And lastly, we have the Youth Leadership Council, which they do a lot of advocacy work to help change some of these things. So again, if there's something that you think is not working or that you would like to see, come be part of the Youth Leadership Council and you can help make some of those changes for the state.
Great. That's a wonderful suggestion. You know, I think I mean, maybe Christina would say too, like, but anytime youth get involved, you know, then your voice is heard and having that voice heard at the table is so important. Another question that came in was, can ETV and Fostering Independence Grant be used together?
Yes, yes, they can. So the two programs can work together. What the goal is to get student funding up to the cost of attendance. Cost of attendance includes tuition, books, fees, also housing expenses, personal expenses, transportation expenses. So both programs, you can get both programs at the same time.
Okay, thank you. Does receiving Section 8 housing or case management services from a Title IV-E agency impact extended foster care payments? And maybe if you can take a stab of what that actually means in a question for those that wouldn't know what those words are.
So basically what that means is, can you get a Section 8 housing voucher and extended foster care at the same time? And the answer is no, you cannot. So you cannot receive a Section 8 voucher or a Section 42 voucher or a family unification program, also known as FUP, or a foster youth to independence voucher, which is a voucher for young people that have left foster care. You cannot get one of those housing vouchers and be in extended foster care at the same time. The best benefit that you can do is be ready to leave the extended foster care program at 21 and then apply for a foster youth to independence voucher, which is a housing voucher that is guaranteed to young people that are leaving foster care as long as they are, as long as they go to a housing authority that has them. And it's basically a Section 8 voucher that you can get for up to 5 years. So you can be in extended foster care up to 21 and then get a foster youth to independence voucher for an additional 5 years after that. A foster youth to independence voucher is available to any young person that was in foster care, has left foster care, and is between the ages of 18 and 24. So even if you were in foster care the day you were born and then you went home to your parents, and now you turn 18, you are still eligible for one of those housing vouchers. It doesn't matter how long you were in foster care, and it doesn't matter how old you were when you were in foster care. You just have to have left foster care and be between the ages of 18 and 24.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm gonna shift back again to Brittany and Christina or anyone in the audience. If you want to comment, you can certainly comment by card or in the chat. But I just want to ask you what, we use the word barriers a lot, but really what that means is what were things that were kind of sticking points? What was hard to like get around or navigate or figure out? And is there any suggestions you have for the legislature or some of the folks in the room tonight of, what maybe could be changed for youth in foster care? I know that's a long question, so I can repeat it if I need to, but basically, were there any roadblocks for you? And if you could change something, what would you change?
Yeah. I would say, barriers. I had a really good social worker who made sure that I had like all my documentation, like making sure that I had all like my social security card, my birth certificate, things like that. I will say since I spent a lot of my later foster care years in like rural Minnesota, I did learn how to drive and I got my license, but I know like a lot of youth who were urban or living in the city, they didn't get that opportunity. And so it was kind of like, I know for them, it was hard to like, yeah, they didn't really have an opportunity to like go beyond where they were able to go because they didn't have anywhere that's not bus accessible. So I would say maybe that. Yeah.
So the question is, did you face any barriers to getting services? Or were there any roadblocks or paperwork or anything that was difficult?
No, not at all. I think the barrier for me was probably nothing. I don't
No worries. That's great to hear. Couple more questions from online and different folks. Can a youth who had a FUP voucher receive I think this says FYI voucher or FY1 voucher? FYI, yeah, okay.
So the vouchers are very similar. They're both housing choice vouchers, and normally you wouldn't need to convert those vouchers. They're fairly similar. So you probably wouldn't need to convert those vouchers. Depending on the housing authority that you're with, some of them automatically convert them to the foster youth to independence voucher because right now those vouchers are unlimited, and the FUP vouchers are limited. So depending on the housing program that you're with, most of them are trying to just convert them to a foster youth to independence voucher because right now the federal government has those vouchers as unlimited. An agency can get as many as they want right now.
But basically you would receive one or the other.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, they're almost the same voucher. It's a housing choice voucher.
Okay, another question is, sometimes youth are reunified after the age of 16, but it doesn't work out. Are there any safeguards to protect youth for whom reunification with a parent fails, and then they are basically alone? can a youth get back into care or services?
Well, I can answer for the stay program. So there's always the option of getting services through stay, again, through your community, tribal, or county agencies. And with stay, you don't have to currently be in foster care. So again, as long as you had that 30 consecutive days of placement after age 14, if you are reunified with your family, you can come back and ask for those services. If you're under the age of 18, you would go to your county and request services through them. If you're over the age of 18 and no longer working with your county, then you could go to one of our community agencies and receive those services up to age 23.
Okay, I'm gonna, Jacqueline Bolio from the Hennepin County Attorney's Office.
So yeah, so just to answer that question, if a youth is like 16 and reunifies, goes home, but then it's a bad situation again, up until any time until like a child turns 18, if a parent kicks you out or things are unsafe, certainly that would be something that could be reported to child protection. They could screen that in and file a new petition. So just because a youth is 16 doesn't mean we just say, well, you're on your own and, you know, whether you're safe or not. We certainly are concerned about safety up until that youth turns 18, and we can certainly file a new petition and get that child back into foster care. Certainly we don't do that just to provide benefits for somebody, but certainly if they're back in an unsafe situation, and any of the organizations that you might reach out to, like the Link or DIW, any of those people are reporters and they could let child protection know. And then that would start a petition up again.
Okay, hopefully that answers the question. I think that's a really important one because I think we do sometimes in the community, agencies see youth in those situations, and that's when we would make a report to maltreatment to child protection screening and try to see if we can get them services. There are also, just as a reminder, there are countless community agencies, many are here tonight, who do sometimes just provide services for, such as DIW for youth that are parenting, the Minneapolis American Indian Center. We provide services for young adults, any age, 18 and up. If you've got children, there are services for you. A lot of the community agencies provide services. And if you ever worked with anyone when you were in foster care, I would just suggest go ahead and reach out to someone you used to work with before, because chances are they're going to know who to connect you to. Another question is, why are extended foster care checks not sent on the same date and the same delivery method each month? Non-regular payments makes using the money hard for rent.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, sounds good.
Sounds good.
So dig it. I need to see my youth at least once a month, and this provides an opportunity for them to come to me so that I can meet with them, make sure that they're doing okay and whatnot. The question was, why don't we mail it out? Or why isn't it on a specific date and time? Sure. So yeah, primarily it's so that I get an opportunity to make sure that the youths are doing okay. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, so Ramsey County, unfortunately, our policy is only to mail. And unfortunately, unlike an input check, they're based upon what we call a payment invoice form. So the form has to be mailed. Sometimes we can get accounting to do that electronically. They're filled out by the youth. If they're incorrect, they send them back. So some things are out of my control. But at the end of the day, once that PIF is, or the payment invoice form is received, it comes into the county, it goes up to the revenue unit, and then they begin that process of issuing a check. So I wish I could say that we could be smarter. One way to get it a little quicker though, is to have direct deposit. So they still say though, you have to do the form. Once the form is done and you have direct deposit, that check goes in quicker versus going through the mail. So out of our control, but if you have questions about it, call. Because there are ways that we can check to see where it is, but it's out of our control.
Yeah, so the answer, each county individually has policies on their payment. We just had 2 counties that are literally right next to each other that have completely different processes, right? So for instance, Hennepin, if you're a Hennepin County youth, you've already received your check for July. They pay a month in advance. Other agencies wait and send their checks out like around the 15th of the month. It just depends on what that county policy is. Some counties, you have to fill out a voucher for a foster care payment, and other counties don't send their checks out usually until the 9th or the 10th of the month. So it just depends on what county or tribe you're with. At DHS, we just ensure that you get paid. So if there's a problem with your payment or you're not receiving it and you have an issue, then you can contact one of us and we'll help you work through that.
Just want to say one more thing. The importance of, I stress for young people to have a job just because of that question. You cannot rely, at least in Ramsey County, upon getting that check when you think that you're going to get it. So having a job is critical. One, it gives you another sense of really being independent and not being solely reliant. And I understand that there are situations where you're getting yourselves together and you need to have that check. But when you begin that process of looking for employment, getting engaged with employment, you then have more control versus waiting on that check from the county. So employment is good. We try and send people out for resources because we don't do a lot. We send things out to be done, but having your own job, knowing that you're going to get paid every 2 weeks, having that check deposited, you're in control. You're not waiting on someone and stressing out. So just keep that in mind. For Ramsey, they are not reliable, but they're helpful.
The next question is, do all workers know about all these programs? What do you do if your worker does not know?
We would absolutely love it if all workers knew about all these programs, but the reality is that more than likely they don't. If they're a specialized worker, so the different counties and tribes all work differently. Ramsey County, as you've heard, and Hennepin County have very specialized workers. Most of their workers that work with teens are going to know about all these programs. If you're working with a smaller county, they typically do everything from the intake all the way through extended foster care. And there's a chance they may miss something or miss a resource. The best thing that a young person can do is, like Aubrey said, go look at our website, go look at the programs available and contact one of us, or we do have a generic email address that is checked daily. And so that's another very good resource, and that is also on our website. So any resources that we can provide would be great. Sometimes if it's not a foster care resource, we can still provide it to you just based on the resources that we've known for quite a while. Most of us at one point were social workers ourselves too.
All right, I'm just going to ask Christina and Brittany if you have anything else that you would like to add that we maybe haven't touched on. Anything else about your story or experience that you'd like to share?
No, I'm the vice president of the worker. I think if you do guys get like a native like youth, I think you guys should help them get enrolled.
I just wanted to speak on the Youth Leadership Council. If you have an opportunity to get involved with that, I would really suggest doing it, because yeah, you get an opportunity to like speak on your experiences. So if foster care is like, if your experience was something that wasn't pleasant, or if there's things that you feel like could change, or you want to do some of that advocacy, I would definitely suggest getting involved in those things. And yeah, with that comes a lot of opportunity. So I wanted to speak on that.
I know Brittany brought up this question about enrollment, and so I'd like to just take a quick second to give a little bit of advice to any youth that might be in that situation. Sometimes in the process of your foster care case, there's some reason why the tribe maybe couldn't enroll you at that time. Something was happening, a birth certificate wasn't in the right place somewhere. So if there's youth online or in the room, and you find yourself that you have not been able to be enrolled for whatever reason, the best place to reach out to is going to be, if you are from a tribe in Minnesota, to go to the urban office of that tribe. And so many of the Minnesota tribes have urban offices here. It doesn't have to be an ICWA worker. The actual tribal office has enrollment papers. And there are folks there that will tell you like what the rules are, what do you need to get involved. And certainly you can ask your worker for help with that. But also sometimes there are rules where you have to request it yourself. Every tribe is different. So just letting you know. So that might be something that helps some people in the future. The other thing is sometimes tribes change their rules on who can be enrolled. And so for some youth, maybe you couldn't be enrolled when you were 12, but when you turn, 18 or whatever, the rules have changed, and maybe you or your children are now eligible, and maybe they weren't at first. So it's always worth checking with the tribal office. If you're from an out-of-state tribe, you can come to the Minneapolis American Indian Center, and we can try to help you connect with who those folks would be. Right now, we're located in Baby Space, the lower level, but we have lots and lots of enrollment forms for all kinds of tribes outside of Minnesota. And so I would suggest, if you're from a tribe outside of Minnesota, if you want to give us a call first, and we can try to point you in the right direction. But it is tricky. Enrollment is a little tricky because those rules change all the time. And certainly if your worker can help you, great. But if you find yourself afterwards and you're not in foster care anymore and you're not sure where to go, that's just some ideas. Next question. I think one of the things we maybe didn't get to was for the panel. I'm just looking here to see if there was anything that we missed. Oh, I think so. Maybe this would be for county workers, but it could be anyone that answers. How can you get help if you've got to get some basic information? Social security card, birth certificate, driver's license, your enrollment, independent living plan. Who do you call and ask, or who can help you? Oh, sorry about that. Can you pass it?
That's easy.
So in a perfect world, those documents would have been provided after leaving child protection, but that doesn't happen always. So as far as a state ID, that's a pretty easy procedure. You go to the local DMV. I've got a place in Cottage Grove that I like to take youth because there's no line. Granted, it's a 40-minute car ride, but it's like 5 minutes in and out. So that works for me. Birth certificates, those are simple enough to order. Social security cards are a little more difficult. There is an online form that can be done. The tricky part with that is it requires a payment, and a lot of youth don't have a credit card or a debit card. And sometimes somebody might pay for that and just kind of go through that process like that, just to facilitate it. So that's what I have done. But the social security cards can be, that's the trickiest one of them all. So.
And I would echo that as well. You know, oftentimes we really are relying on that information to be in the file when it comes up. And sometimes, you know, biological parents have the information and won't give them to us. So we're starting that whole process all over again. It's a little trickier for my section because youth are already 18, but that doesn't mean that we can't walk someone through the process. We take people, you know, to the DMV to get state IDs. So there are a number of things that your individual worker can help you with, but you got to tell us because, you know, we make assumptions when I'm getting something that everything is where it's supposed to be. So if I'm told that, well, yeah, we gave it to the young person and then the young person says, well, no, they never did. But communication is key, you know, to getting what you need and be persistent with whoever it is. Because I'm a supervisor, I usually see a lot of those things, but I also have some kids that I still manage. So I get it, but you have to let people know what you don't have because, you know, like I said, there are assumptions that are made, but most of the things are easy to get. And, you know, for us, we can access petty cash for youth that are really struggling, trying to get things. It sometimes is a process, or I'll go through a stay worker to get what I need. So there are ways to get your vital documents. Just ask.
Any last comments from the panel? Anyone?
I have one. I just want to give a shout out to DIW. So they're one of our community agencies who provide stay in the community services and youth leadership council, but they're also able to work with all 11 of the federally recognized tribes in the state of Minnesota. So no matter where you are, what tribe you're through, who you're connected with, you can always reach out to Division of Indian Work and they can help you out with services as well.
$1,023. Come get it.
Anything else from the panel? I think then we're going to do our closing here. I just want to say, Chimigwich, thank you to everyone that has participated in the panel. I want to say a special thank you to Brittany and Christina. I really appreciate all your comments. And just really appreciate you being willing to get up here and be on the mic. So it's not always easy to do that, but thank you so much for being willing to. Thank you to all of you that have come and joined us tonight. We've had a lot of great questions. We've had great questions online. This is recorded. So if you know of other young people, parents, you can access it. You can message Sadie Hart. If you registered with us, you could message any of us on the Family Preservation Facebook page or through MUID or at any of the organizations, and we will get you a link to this recording. So if you have someone that could use this information, we'll certainly send you the recording from tonight. With that, I just want to say again, Chimigwich and goodbye, Gigawabman, everyone, and thank you again for coming.